What comes of an entire family struck down by tragedy? And furthermore, how do you deal with those who have charged themselves with tending to their legacy? Let's find out in the Book of the Raven. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Geek Pantheon. I am Eric, and today we are talking about how to run the Book of the Raven adventure in Candlekeep Mysteries. And just kind of me breaking down what works about the adventure and then providing my insight into what I would alter for the adventure just to make it run smoother and potentially allow it to expand beyond the scope of just a single adventure moving forward. So first off, my overview of the adventure. I think this adventure is really well designed and really well written in terms of the overarching nature of what's being done in the adventure. I think it is a little light on combat, which is not too different from a lot of adventures in Candlekeep Mysteries, so it's pretty par for the course there. So just keep in mind as a DM, if you have a really combat heavy party, you may need to tweak some things here and there. It does address that in the adventure, though, of providing, some random encounters on the way to the manor that the party is headed towards and things like that. But my bigger concern is that the actual plot of the adventure is kind of lacking, in my opinion. The lore and the story are great, but there's so much about the lore and the story of this adventure that the players and their characters will never experience, because the adventure is not set up in a way to compel them to learn this stuff. There's so many things included in this adventure that I read it and go, that's awesome. There's no way for the characters to learn this, so what's the point in putting it in the adventure, except for my benefit as a DM, which is neat. And I'll be able to tell the players afterwards, like, hey, that raven that dropped off the book, that raven had the spirit of one of the daughters in it. And they'd be like, oh, okay. Is there any way we could have learned that? Nope. Like, okay. And so, yeah, it's stuff like that. So my biggest endeavor with this how to run video is how to reconstruct the adventure to bring all of this really cool lore and interesting stuff that the team behind this adventure created and put it at the forefront. Let the players interact with it. Let the players know about it and create a dynamic story that pulls the players forward. Because the other big issue with this adventure is that outside of the promise of treasure at the end of a treasure map, there's nothing for the party to go off of here. There's nothing. They find a treasure map in a book that is like, okay, well, there's the map. And if your party's not super interested in treasure, they're just like, okay, like, we would rather go help people or, go on a grand adventure. We're not really keen on going to an old house to steal stuff from people who are dead. So creating a different dynamic. And some parties that will be enough. A treasure map is like, yes, treasure, let's go. But even then, the treasure is kind of lacking. There's not a big hoard here to be spoken of. So you would need to supplement that a little bit if your party is really treasure hungry. So anyway, let's get into the adventure. This is not going to follow the typical format that the previous ones have of me breaking down section by section, because once again, most of this adventure works really well from a mechanical standpoint. The room by room encounters of the house are perfectly fine. There's nothing really to be tweaked about them. There's nothing really to give a heads up about. They're well done. There's nothing that's be like, hey, be careful and be mindful of this. They're really well done. But part of that is because there isn't a strong plot. Like with Joy of Extra Dimensional Spaces, you had to find the 7 books to figure out the passcode to leave the house. There's not really anything like that here. You're looking for the treasure. And then once you get in the house, you get the sense that it's haunted. And so you try to find the source of the haunting, maybe. And then once you find the source of the haunting, then maybe you keep going. It's a very weird adventure from a story standpoint. So let's see if we can fix it. So first off, with finding the book, So this offers an option where if the party is researching Shadowfell or the Vasanti people, they might come across this book in Candlekeep Mysteries. Get rid of all of that. Uh, the option where a raven brings them the book and drops it off to them, that is the finding the book narrative that I would go with 100% of the time. I would have the raven with the soul of Heluth in the raven, and she brings the book to them, and then using her beak or a talon writes in the dirt, save my home from monsters, or get rid of the monsters, or whatever. It's a 6-year-old's ghost, so come up with something that would make sense for a 6-year-old to write in the dirt if embodying the body of a raven. And then if the party tries to question the raven, like, well, where are they? Then if they haven't found the treasure yet, then have the raven start pecking at the book cover. And if they have, then start pecking at Chalet Branifax on the map. And what this does is provides an impetus for parties that don't care about treasure, or they want to be doing something bigger with their time as adventurers. Because, you know, some of them might think, oh, this raven is possessed with a ghost, or they might think that this is some weird version of a sending spell or just a really well-trained bird. And they'll think that somebody or something is in peril and in danger. And so they're going to be compelled to push forward. Now, a big decision you need to make is whether or not to have Heluth accompany the party for the duration. One thing I would do is have her raven be visually distinct, like a shock of white feathers on the top of her head, or bright green eyes, or something like something to make it visually distinct to where you can just say you instantly recognize that raven as being the one that brought you the book, just for further on down the road. Or you can have Heluth accompany the party and just stay with them the entire time, having the raven react to the various haunting things that are happening, or the were-ravens, or whatever. That's an option that you can go with. I would probably let the raven, once they get to Chalet Brantifax, like fly off towards the house away from them, and they get separated at that point, and just have her stick with the party during their journey to get to the house. This also sets up a bit of a double turn, where when the party gets to the house, they're going to think the monsters are whatever's haunting the house. And then they realize, oh, it's the were-ravens that are making all these noises and creeping us out like it's the house. But then actually it's this other thing, because we are going to use the shadow crossing in a meaningful way to kind of cap off this adventure. Because to my reading, the shadow crossing seems entirely optional, which is weird because it's like the big end thing for the adventure. So we're going to incorporate that into the story as well to get the party to actually go do that thing. So we can have that nice capstone moment for the adventure. So yeah, like I said, once they get to Chalet Brantifax and they start going throughout the house, they're going to obviously think it's haunted. You should play up the were-ravens mimicry stuff to make it seem like it's haunted: creaking doors, laughing children, all the creepy things that they can do with their voices. And, you know, they may encounter the poltergeist in the nursery, or the Baron's ghost in the well down in the basement. They might encounter that stuff before they find the were-ravens. That is possible. I would try to set it up to where they encounter the were-ravens first, but there's no accounting for players once they actually get into the adventure. But once the were-ravens are encountered, they can explain, we were just trying to scare you off, da 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 da. Oh, you actually encountered some ghosts? Well, that's weird. There's a family that died here and their souls were restless and all that kind of stuff. So have that conversation with the were-ravens once they encounter the Scarlet Stash, that group of were-ravens that live in this house. And before we move on, if you are enjoying this video, please go down below and give it a like. It helps out the channel a whole heck of a lot. And subscribe to the channel. We are on the path to 2,000 subscribers, and when we do that, I will be giving you a D&D 5th edition book of your choosing, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Subscribe down below so I can pick one of you to give that gift to. Also, if you want to talk about this in real time, I do stream on Twitch over at twitch.tv/thegeekpantheon. Link down in the description below. Come by, hang out. I would love to have you. Okay, and probably my biggest addition to this adventure is I would take either the Orcus figurine that is mentioned in the adventure, or create some other evil magical item of an appropriate level of power to be a concern for the Scarlet Stash. and say that the white who lives across the shadow crossing, Drovath Harn, has it, took it from them, and that basically they have taken up residence in this home as kind of like protecting the material plane from this white who's trying to open up a permanent crossing from the Shadowfell. And maybe the magic item that he has plays into that in some regard. And so, a couple entities have come across here and there, some ghouls, what have you, but they're trying to prevent a permanent portal from opening up, basically. And they can use rituals and spells on their side of things, but the white is just going to grow stronger and stronger and stronger as Harn has more and more time to amass minions and grow in power with this magic item. So that's what the were ravens need the party to deal with. They don't have the combat prowess to go through into the Shadowfell and deal with this situation. They have the capacity to use rituals to try and stop it for now, but they need the party to go through. And for a reward, have some magic items, like a handful of magic items that maybe the were ravens say have now been consecrated from the evil that resided within them when they collected them, and now they've been okay, they are untarnished, and the party can have them if they assist them in this endeavor. And that can be your material hook to get the party to do this. Additionally, what I would then add onto it is say that rather than the single grave that is the means to cross over as written in the adventure, have all the graves be necessary. And I would have however many graves there are party members. If you have 4 party members, perfect, you're set up. If you have 5, then maybe add the wife/mother's grave out there, and come up with some reason why she died there, or a grandparent, or however many you need. Another family pet that was out there. So just create however many spaces you need, and then the were ravens tell them, but in order for these to work, the spirits that reside in these graves have to be put to rest. They cannot be a restless spirit and allow you to cross over. So then that forces them to go find what happened to the Baron with the well, forces them to go to the nursery to deal with the poltergeist with the other daughter, and then potentially something horrifyingly tragic for a lot of parties. Some parties this may not land with, but Haluth has to be put to rest. She clearly, I know in the adventure, a hag took her body and replaced it with a scarecrow and crawling hands and all this kind of stuff, which you can keep that if you want. But Haluth's spirit residing in this raven, beseeching adventurers to come protect her home, she has to be put to rest. She has to lay down. And so you can have this moment of realization where they realize that this raven is the other daughter, and realizing what needs to happen. And then you can, I would have like a nice moment, if your party is inclined to this, where the raven writes in the dirt like she did at the beginning, can sleep now, family is waiting, or something like that, and then have her fly off, and then have some noise occur around on the other side of the house that lets the party know that her spirit has been laid to rest. I wouldn't make the party kill her, because that might be too much and too dark, especially if you have party members of varying investment. You might have one party member over here who doesn't really care about the emotional side of this game, just be like, okay, whatever, I shoot the raven. And that will diminish the moment. So yeah, just have Haluth fly around the house, and then her spirit is laid to rest. So that will get the party more invested and more aware of the story of the fall of this household, which is the other missing piece of lore, besides the shadow crossing stuff, is what happened to the Brantifax family. And you can create that story as the party goes through and lays these spirits to rest. You can add more spirits if you want to have this be a longer adventure. Add more to it. Have something with the dog, the family dog that passed away. Maybe the dog is roaming the yard trying to protect the house, and the party needs to go assure it that the family is safe, and it can be another really sweet moment. So you can have a lot of freedom here in what you want to create. But if you just want to run the adventure as written, then just have the Baron and the 2 daughters, whose spirits are still restless, and the dog is perfectly fine. The dog was laid to rest and died happy. Then at that point, the adventure just goes as written. The party crosses over into the Shadow Crossing via the graves, wakes up. They have combat. They deal with Harn as a wight, take the evil magic item from Harn, and come back. I would have the were ravens be in the process of burying the party as opposed to them already be buried, so it's a hilarious misunderstanding as opposed to a, oh crap, we need to pass a strength check to get out of these graves, because what if they fail? Like, then they're just buried alive and they die. Don't have a skill check for a moment like that. Like, I would be very upset as a player if you killed my party member because I couldn't pass a strength check to get out of being buried alive when I was trying to help people. So yeah, have it be a, like, they're shoveling dirt on and they're like, whoa, what are you doing? It's like, oh, we thought you were dead. Maybe you'll have a weird time dilation thing. Maybe the party's been gone for 3 days and they thought, okay, they died. So so yeah, that's the other thing that I would tweak, is just have the were ravens be in the process of doing it so it can be funny as opposed to a potentially devastating skill check. And then have the Scarlet Sash give them their loot, have them like become allies with the party. And you could also, when Haluth is saying her goodbye, you could have her add a feel free to stay, or this home belongs to your family now, or whatever, if you want to set up this manor as being a potential base of operations. Maybe the party wants to continue going into the Shadowfell and adventuring there, and so the graves are a convenient way to do that, and so they renovate the house to be able to use as base operations, or maybe they just want to adventure in the neighboring area and they can do it that way. So this house could be a base of operations for the party, and it could be a fun money sink of them needing to get this house back into a working order. And then the Scarlet Stash obviously could be allies to the party if they didn't get like stab happy when they first met them. And that's the other thing. This is all assuming that your players are not going to kill lycanthropes on sight. If you have a party like that, then the were ravens run away and the adventure ends. Um, so yeah, but yeah, that's what I got for this adventure. What do you all think? Did you enjoy this adventure? Does the changes that I make you more excited to potentially run this adventure? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.